Number 5.
The Ranch of Rivershine is a cozy life simulator with a big focus on running a ranch and raising horses, made with Unreal Engine. Considering that the vast majority of my viewers are males in their 20s and 30s, this is probably not the kind of game a lot of you are into. But there's actually a lot to learn from this example, so hear me out. The developer of this game, Eloise, managed to ship 5 different games within only 3 years as a solo developer. Not only that, but all of them are highly rated and financially successful, with a combined estimated net revenue of over
$1 million.
And now that I have your attention, let's dig into how she was able to achieve that, and I'll be referencing this article by themainquest.com for that. Eloise mentions that she couldn't imagine working on a multi-year project for her first game and always had a business-like approach to game development. And I think this is where many game devs, including myself, go wrong, and we try to just pack every idea we ever had into our first game, and end up with a feature-creeped and unfocused mess that takes years to finish. Eloise learned 3D modeling, rigging, and animation at art school, but is self-taught when it comes to programming and game design. She said that working alone helps her speed up development since there's no time wasted on meetings or miscommunication. Even though this isn't mentioned in the article, I suspect another reason for her success is the fact that she established herself in the cozy games niche by releasing multiple high-quality titles within that genre, under her Cozy Bee Games label. This allows her to not just get customers for a single game, but rather build up a long-term audience that is likely to come back for her upcoming titles as well. And this is actually a very similar approach to what Chilla's Art is doing within the horror games genre, and it's been paying off big time for them. Having many shorter games under her belt and passive income flowing in from their sales is also what allowed her to expand the scope of the Ranch of Rivershine, which is her biggest project to date. So I believe there's a lot we can all learn from her approach. Before we move on to the next game, a quick word from this video's sponsor, Arcane Mirage. Arcane Mirage enables you to share your Unreal Engine projects through pixel streaming without a need for high-end hardware. This means your game or experience will be hosted in the cloud and can be accessed by your partners or customers on any device with no need to download an executable. There are multiple ways to share your projects, and you can either give private access, share them publicly, and also embed Arcane Mirage on your website to give visitors direct access. It's completely self-service and has affordable pricing for solo developers, small teams, and enterprises, with a free tier being available as well. Check out Arcane Mirage from the link in the description and use the code COBRACODE50 to get 50% off on your first month subscription.
Number 4.
Samurai Bringer is a roguelite action game utilizing procedural generation, and it was created using Unreal Engine 4.27. On first glance, you wouldn't guess that this game was made using Unreal due to its retro-style UI and low-poly models using flat shading. When looking at just the character models by themselves, they do look very bland. But the pixel art post-process effect they're utilizing really brings everything together and creates a unique look that instantly drew me in. The developer Alpha Wing developed a pretty similar look for their first game, Gachinko Tennis, that was exclusive for the Nintendo Switch. And you could say the low-poly models and pixel post-process are now their calling card. On Steam, Samurai Bringer has an estimated net revenue of over $130,000, but it's also available on the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4. And for games like this, which mostly target the Japanese market, I believe they earned most of their revenue on consoles. The game is also well optimized, and even with many enemies on screen, it runs at a rock-solid 60 FPS on the Steam Deck, while only utilizing about 20 to 30% of the CPU and GPU. I believe Samurai Bringer is a great showcase of how to implement existing mythology in your story and develop a unique art style, while it also showcases that Unreal can be a great fit for these low-poly retro-style games.
Number 3.
Snacko is a cozy life simulator developed by a husband and wife team using Unreal Engine 4. They took a chance on this game, with Jordan leaving his established software development job and Erisa starting work on Snacko right out of school instead of hunting for a game studio job. In Snacko, your task is not only to tend to a farm, but also revitalize the entire island while tending to the needs of its citizens. It's currently available in early access and has a free demo available, which I checked out to take a deeper look on how they utilize Unreal. The game is made up of 2D sprites for characters and low-poly 3D models with pixel art textures for the environment. Their characters feature animations for 8 different directions, which requires a lot of time and effort to draw. You can also rotate the camera, and all sprites will always keep on facing it, while keeping the world rotation of the characters. It also appears that the entire game is using unlit materials, with fake circular shadows being placed at the bottom of objects. This allows it to create a minimalistic and simplified look while also improving performance as opposed to computing highlights and shadows. In a developer spotlight, they mention how they use a mix of both C++ and blueprints, with blueprints allowing them to iterate on ideas and make changes very quickly. Snacko is available through Steam Early Access, but it's also planned to release on PS4, PS5 and the Nintendo Switch. The duo also managed to secure an Epic Mega Grant and stated that the financial support allowed them to develop the game in a much more sustainable way, and bridged the gap until they were able to find a publisher. So Snacko isn't just a great showcase of 2D/3D hybrids, but also a great success story for a small indie team.
Number 2.
Robo Blitz is a physics-based puzzle game by an indie studio called Naked Sky Entertainment. As you can probably tell, this is not a recent game and actually takes us back to the good old days of Unreal Engine 3, which is the first time indie developers and the general public were able to get their hands on the engine. Robo Blitz released the same day as Gears of War, making both of them the first Unreal Engine 3 game to be released. Even though Robo Blitz didn't move many units on Steam, considering that it was mostly targeted at Xbox Live Arcade and the indie market had a lot less competition in 2006, I would guess that it did quite well on that platform. To be able to comply with the 50 MB limit of Xbox Live Arcade as an Unreal Engine 3 game, the developers actually had to use a lot of nifty tricks, such as using a middleware tool to store textures procedurally. The for the time great looking visuals and interesting use of physics garnered RoboBlitz a lot of praise and multiple awards. And the game is actually still available on Steam and even has a free demo that ran just fine on my Windows 11 machine, so if this piqued your interest you might want to give it a try.
Number 1.
Akazu Off Limits is a short horror game created with Unreal Engine 5 by a VTuber called Sankyu. It's a short 10-minute experience that can be downloaded for free, and I believe the small scope, combined with the fact that walking simulator horror games require very little programming, made this a perfect choice for his first game. Having played countless horror games himself as a content creator allowed him to develop an understanding of the genre, and I believe he was successful at creating an eerie atmosphere. Akazu managed to reach over 2,000 downloads as far back as 2022, and I'm pretty sure the number is much higher today, considering it's also available on Steam now. While the reviews here on Steam are mixed, he was able to get a fair amount of well-known content creators to play it, with the general feedback being quite positive. So I guess this shows that Steam reviews aren't necessarily the end-all be-all, and as an indie developer the hardest thing is to get people to play your game in the first place. So reaching thousands of downloads on your first title in itself is a great indicator of success. And it also appears that he has taken quite a liking to game development, since his next title, Tatari, is already listed on Steam as an upcoming game. As always, thanks to my awesome patrons and now also my awesome YouTube channel members.